Hi everybody, it's 314 Reactor here. Today we're going to be looking at my newest project, which is based on an older project that I did called Artificial Life. I've now upgraded it to Artificial Life HD. What you're looking at is a Raspberry Pi with a Unicorn Hat HD, which is essentially a matrix of LEDs that are accessible, full RGB capability. And what I've coded, and there'll be a link to this in the description, is something similar to Conway's Game of Life, but with a lot more complex rules. So each of those dots there represents a single life form. They each have their own parameters, such as time to live, movement, what direction they go in, how aggressive they are, how much they are willing to breed with each other, and when they do breed with each other, they pass along their genetic characteristics onto the next generation. So if a blue and a red one meet, they'll produce a purple one, and that purple one will have the statistics of the two parents. So if the two parents are incredibly aggressive life forms, that one will be also. What happens here is that all these entities interact in various ways. The previous project, which we'll have a look at in a second, used the old SD hat, which was an 8x8 grid. This is a 16x16 grid, so it's 256 pixels. And here we are. Here's the original grid. It's running the new code, but you can see the limitations of it. You still get interesting things happen, like these entities flying around here, but obviously there's a lot less. There's only 64 available, so you get a lot less interesting structures and formations happening. The old code was very inefficient. I've gone over it and massively improved it because there was a lot of useless variables. Some things ran slowly. A lot of the collision detection didn't work, so it was a case of cleaning all that up, making sure they actually collided with each other, and also adding in a whole bunch of new features so you can fire up the code and send in a bunch of extra parameters such as gravity, the maximum aggression of life forms, how long they can possibly live for, how much DNA randomness is also in there as well. There's a percentage chance you can put in that there's 3 essential numbers that handle the different variations and characteristics of each entity. There's a percentage chance that one of those, when passed along to the offspring, will be a random number, which results in, like real life evolution, sort of chaos into the mix. So you can adjust that parameter as well. And when gravity is enabled, all the beings fall to the bottom of the board. So it's like you're looking at something from the side, whereas when gravity's off, it's like you're looking down on the entities. So here we're looking down on the old SD hat. You're seeing entities that are sat in place. Some will just sit there in place and consume other entities or form structures with other ones, because entities can now clump together, like if 2 entities match. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing a clump up there. This is with gravity on, and you're seeing essentially a rain cloud in the top left there, where it's raining down other entities, and the ones at the bottom are kind of consuming them. But some, as you can see by those 2 skinny sort of towers there on the left, manage to form this structure because they have equal aggression, and they're willing to combine with each other to move in the same direction, in this case still. As for how these clouds form at the top, I'm not sure, because they go against gravity. It's some sort of, it might be a bug that's turned out to be a feature, but it's awesome because you saw that it rains down other entities. And here we see later on where those 2 skinny towers are built into something else from where that cloud was raining down on it, and that structure actually continued on for quite a while. This is one that I had running for a good few hours, and I think we'll see a bit more of a result of that later. So yeah, you get some really unexpected stuff happen. It's a lot more interesting than the original one, where essentially things would just fill up the entire screen and just you couldn't really tell what's going on. Now you actually get these interesting structures and other things flying around. It's almost like a city on the ground there with the other entities flying around, and eventually these structures fall and get rebuilt and things appear in the sky and you get clumps of entities flying around doing things. It's so fascinating to watch. Next clip, another weird structure I see, an icicle I like to call it, where you've got gravity on, but somehow up in the air these structures have formed that sort of go down like an icicle. But again, I'm not sure quite how they form. But you can see that's kind of collapsed in and built an entire structure on the left there. And I think in a few seconds in this clip, it goes a little bit crazy. And you can also see some of the entities colliding with each other and combining to like a super entity. So you can essentially get like groups of predatory life forms going around just eating other ones. And when a life form eats another life form, it gains their time to live. So it increases their lifespan, essentially. So the structure is now split. You've got one in the sky, one on the ground. They're kind of just exchanging life form with each other. The code is pretty complicated at this point, so it can be kind of hard to determine how some of these structures get built. But feel free to check out the links below to my Hackster profile, Electromaker profile, and my GitHub, which contains all of the details on this project and the previous project, as well as links to the code, which you can check out and run yourself. You can run this on a PC because it uses Unicorn Hat Simulator, so you can just download it, run it with Python on your Linux or Windows PC, and see this happening without actually having to have the hardware. Here what we see is quite a large build-up of entities without gravity on, so they can just land anywhere. I think this setting is where I had quite a high percentage of entities that stand still. And here we go, there's another example of no gravity with lots and lots of entities. Usually there'll be a lot of chaos, and then things will sort of settle down. And then there'll be chaos again, and it'll go round and round and round. Or sometimes there'll just be a lot of chaos, and then it'll settle down into certain structures. It's really, really fascinating to watch. It looks a lot better in person as well. The camera had a hard time kind of picking up the brightness of the pixels, so some of the colours look a bit off. Here we go again, another example with gravity off and tons of life forms. So we're seeing some videos here of really successful runs where the life forms are all breeding. And there's another thriving run. So some of these runs, I increase the aggression, which means they're more likely to kill each other rather than breed. And here's some examples of a lone entity that's left, the only one that survived because all the others ate each other, basically. And then, yeah, this is where the aggression's just so high, they all just kind of eat each other. Sometimes it can take a while for this to sort of spark up into a sort of ecosystem of life forms. But sometimes you have to change some of the parameters of the program, such as increasing the breed threshold, which means they're more likely to breed rather than kill each other. It's about getting the right balance. You want enough aggression, there we go, like here. You want enough aggression where they're going to evolve and eat each other, and interesting things happen, but not too much where they just all kill each other. This is a bit of a better balance. And then I think I upped the breed count and reduced the number of entities that can stand still, so there's a lot more movement, and you get a lot more of interesting shapes and things going on like this. But again, you've got sort of structures forming at the bottom. You've got a kind of a rain cloud in the top left there, sort of forming. And just like real evolution, kind of the best, most effective entities win out in the end. So you can see that kind of happening there. Another structure forming on the left, similar to the icicle in the building we were seeing earlier. And here's a clip of it running in the dark, with the building on the right, and some entities just kind of flying around there. Running a bit slow, so I think this video may have been taken prior to some optimizations. So yeah, overall that is a few examples of the Artificial Life HD project running. If you liked it, please do leave a like and a subscribe. Do check out the links in the description. Feel free to check out the code, run it on a Raspberry Pi, run it on your home PC. Like I said, it's very similar to Conway's Game of Life, but with a lot more complex rule set behind each entity and a lot more configuration that you can put in. Hope you liked it, and if you like gaming and tech project videos, stick around and I will see you in the next video.